Right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer. Can't argue with that. We are on it.
It's hard to be a board op sometimes.
It's so well. If you hadn't eaten all that chocolate,
Are you in there eating chocolate?
dude, he had
I
a.
have chocolate on my fingers. I was trying to wipe it off in time to turn you guys
You
on.
didn't share?
No.
Was that cake or what the heck was that?
It was like
Yeah.
chocolate mousse cake, but it was really good. I have
Oh
to say
my
so. Thank you.
Lord!
Augustus Gloop in there.
Yeah, he'll be zinging for 20 minutes.
Jeez.
Hey, making good people defenseless does not make bad people harmless.
Truth.
Gun control laws only disarm the law-abiding. Think about it. All the regulations and restrictions around firearms only make it harder for good people like you to defend themselves. Help us fight back and become a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. We make activism easy. Join today. Go to sdcgo.org/join and sign up to be a member. Together, we will win.
Speaking of members, we had a big month last month for San Diego County Gun Owners. We had like 50-something members already, and it's not even the end of the month yet.
That signed up?
Yeah.
New members, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had a bunch of new members combined with the raffle, the AR raffle, which was very, very cool. We finally did the drawing. I'm a little miffed at myself because I actually went. I had the names. I was going to announce the 10 names on air, and I had them in my hand, and I was ready to go. And they are now currently sitting on my desk, ready for me to grab them to walk out the door.
You don't even have a desk.
I have a desk.
No, you don't. You have a
does
Jeep.
You
now.
just don't keep up with my life.
You have a
Dave.
Jeep.
You just don't keep up with my life.
Hey,
We're fighting.
have you ever heard of a poem
Yeah?
called The American Flag?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
What's it about?
I went, well, it's an amazing, I was almost going to bring it, and I was going to recite it, but it's kind of long.
What did you like about it?
Just the way, the patriotism of the American flag, it was really good. It was like,
You know-
I had to go to the wall,
Yeah.
the Vietnam Wall.
Oh,
It was
when?
in El Cajon last night.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
Unbelievable. And I found my best friend when I was in the Army. He had left Korea and went to Nam, and in 2 weeks he was taken. So-
Jeez.
but I found he was on the wall.
So what was going on in El Cajon for those
It
who
was
don't know?
it's the Vietnam Memorial. It travels all around the United States.
Like a replica.
45-foot tractor trailer with all kinds of history, memorabilia, and they named off all of the Vietnam vets that had passed away this year. Different people came up, and then they asked me at the very end to do the American flag poem.
Oh, nice.
Was this
Yeah.
it here?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, read it. Go for it.
Fire
it up.
No, that's not.
No?
Well, that's not the beginning of it.
What touched you about
It's
it
really
in particular?
Just the patriotism that we need right now in this United States.
You know what conversation I think about a lot, and I wonder. I still think that a lot of people have a different opinion than I do, and that's fine. We all are allowed our opinions, and we're all allowed to do what we want to do. We live in America, after all. But I think about the discussion we had where I don't put American flags on any of my clothes,
I know.
and I don't do any of that. And I think about that a lot. I really do. I think that's. I think it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting
you wanna hear it?
development. Sure, fire it up.
Look at this cheesy thing.
Cheesy. You were just talking about how great it was. Then you can't intro it with let me
think
talk
he's-
about this cheesy.
That's not it either.
Oh, man.
Is
I
it from
failed
the
you twice.
is it from the Association of the United States Army?
I don't really, to be honest with you, it's for the wall.
Oh, okay, so because it's not the first one that says "I am the flag of the United States of America."
Nope, that's the one I just found.
That's
You
the
said
one
no.
you just
Never
found.
mind.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
anyway, so we gave away the 10 ARs. We did the raffle for the final raffle on Thursday night at the Chula Vista meeting. We had something like 200 tickets, which I got to tell you, 10 shots and 200. Man, you had a really good chance. What a great raffle we had, and all the proceeds all the money actually went to. Not Me California, our 501c3. So thank you everybody who won, and thank you everyone who bought a ticket. Folks who won, not all of you know that you won yet, and you're going to be getting an email, and of course you'll have to go to Discount Gun Mart. And a big thanks to Discount Gun Mart for helping us facilitate this whole thing. You guys were absolutely wonderful. Everybody was wonderful. The cause was wonderful. The ticket buyers were wonderful. All the volunteers who helped. Garrison and Elliot and all those guys, you guys were wonderful as well, and what a really, really great thing that we did. So 10 winners. Rick Cohen who's a San Diego County gun owner superstar. He's one of the winners. I don't remember the other 9, but at least Rick was one of the winners. And congratulations, Rick. Nobody is more deserving, my friend, than you. You do so much as a volunteer, and I wish more people did. I tell you, if we had 10 Ricks, we'd have gun rights back in California. He's just a great guy. So thank you so much and congratulations. The monthly meetings were actually pretty cool. They always are, but they were particularly cool this month. We had some really good discussions, some really good talks. A lot of people showed up. It was very, very cool. So, it was a good thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, there you go.
So when do I pick up my AR?
No AR for you, sir.
All I get's a laugh.
No AR for you. And, of course, the Discount Gun Mart, we already talked about that. Discount Gun Mart anniversary sale went really, really, really well, too. I think, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You look like you guys blew doors.
It was crazy busy. Yeah. Crazy busy.
Yeah, a lot of people came. A lot of. I got to pet a lot of dogs.
Always.
There were a lot of dogs.
It's actually a dog friendly store. So if you're listening and you want to go bring your dog, that's a place you can go.
Really?
Yeah. Take them by their first gun.
And I got to hold a Hellcat. Those Hellcats were flying off.
Was it the micro or the pro?
Well, I held both of them. I think I'd get the micro. I'd get the Hell Kitten.
Really?
Yeah.
You got some big hands though.
It can't be called a hell kitten.
I do. That's what I call it. I do, but it fits.
It works. Okay. As long as you can
The
get past
thing
that trigger
is,
guard.
here's the
And
thing.
you get your finger in a little hole?
Yeah. The thing is, I carry a Glock 19, and sometimes I carry a Glock 30. And those are really the only 2 guns I carry. With the Hellcat full-sized, I'm not really gaining that much compared to a Glock 19. It's definitely more compact than a Glock 19, but I'm not gaining that much. The Hell Kitten is still totally comfortable. I've never shot it, but I think people make mountains out of molehills. So you can train 99% of what people complain about. I don't like this gun because of whatever. You can train through it. You can train through it.
A lot
and
of it you
spend
can.
time.
And I
on
will
it.
say that one thing that a lot of people don't like when they can't get their pinky finger on the grip.
Yeah, and
So-
I'm kind of used to that, though.
Right.
So that didn't bother me about the Hell Kitten. Anyway, I felt like I was gaining a lot more on the Hell Kitten.
Well, good.
I'm calling it a Hell Kitten. I think Joel actually, I hope he's listening. I think Joel actually introduced me to that term.
Yeah, we have a couple different names for it. That is one of them. But that pinky finger though, a lot of people that's more. I mean, it can help with recoil management. However, a lot of people that if you're pulling really low and left, take that pinky finger off. A lot of that goes away. It's
Okay,
actually
I
not a
have-
bad thing to take the
I have
pinky
the
off.
poem. You want it?
Yes, go for it. You only have a minute, so go.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's Hall of Justice. I fly majestically over institutions of learning. I stand guard with power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, justice. I stand for freedom. I'm confident. I'm arrogant. I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher. My colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am loved. I am revered. I am respected. I am feared. I have fought in every battle, of every war, for more than 200 years. I was flown at Valley Forge, Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox. I was there at San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, in the Argonne forest, Anzio, Rome, and the beaches of Normandy, Guam, Okinawa, Korea, Kaishe, Saigon, and Vietnam knows me. I was there. I led my troops. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired, but my soldiers cheered me, and I was proud. I have been burned, torn, trampled on the streets of countries. I have helped set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled upon, burned, torn, and trampled in the streets of my country. And when it's done by those whom I've served in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the bonds of earth and watched over the uncharted frontier of space from my vantage point on the moon. I have borne silent witness to all of America's finest hours, but my finest hours are yet to come. When I am torn into strips and used as bandages for my wounded comrades in the battlefield, when I've flown at half-mast to honor my soldiers, or when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving parent at the grave of the fallen son of daughters, I am proud. I am the flag of the United States of America.
Very nice.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah. Let's go to commercial and come back and
Thanks
talk
for
about
the backup music.
There you go.
Right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
As you know, Mike Lindell has a passion to help us get the best night's sleep of our lives. Now, after he invented the world's best pillow...
What are you wearing? No, what are you wearing? What'd you do today? What's that foo-foo you got on? You don't know what it is. You told us. I think that's that shit you wore that last time, too. What is it? Oh.
That's okay. It's, I looked at it before I came up because I had a feeling you were going to ask. I think it's called Bright Dreams or something. It was...
Or perfume.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry.
Did you see that? Oh, yeah. God, you thought you put...
We have a caller on the line for you if you wanted to talk to him privately. He has he wants to talk to you about Racer Radio Hour. He has an extra ticket for you for the Trailblazer event. If you want it.
Do me a favor, just take his contact info.
Okay, got it.
Thanks, buddy.
Did you go to the range today?
I did not. No.
Not dressed like that.
So, well, I can do that just like this. We just got in. I'm feeling very jet lagged. I didn't even fly, but I feel jet lagged and hungover. Why? Didn't have a drink, didn't fly. Well, we went to my girls had a basketball tournament, and so we traveled up.
Yeah, you drove up.
Yeah,
north.
drove up north. We were just in Norco, but I didn't sleep well. The four of us.
Cow smell.
I have COVID nose. I can't smell a darn thing anyway.
Do you really?
I still do. Yeah, I can't smell. So, but no, I didn't sleep. I think I probably got like a good 2 hours each night, broken sleep. Just every time someone get to go to the bathroom. 4 people in one hotel room, Yeah.
Oh,
I could not sleep. I could not sleep.
How lucky is Pop?
So.
Would you kill, be married to or dating a woman you can't smell? That would be
Can't.
awesome.
I can't.
He is probably pretty happy about
I
it.
know, right?
So-
Think about that. Think about the possibilities or the things you wouldn't.
And he didn't go with you, right?
No, he did. Yeah, no,
Oh, he
it
did?
was Rob and I and the girls. Yeah. Yeah. So I just,
Where are
Yeah.
you?
Beautiful. It was all that rain yesterday.
yeah, it rained on our way home.
It actually, the rain
Yeah.
yesterday kind of screwed up everything I was trying to do.
Isn't that the truth? All right, folks, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Anything you hear on YouTube was not coming from us. Gun owners, listen up. If you ever have legal matters that involve firearms, you need California's best firearm lawyer, and that means John Dillon. He can help you with red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, so put his name on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon, California firearms lawyer. Again, 760-642-7150.
John Dillon. Awesome guy.
Awesome guy.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember, but we had what I'm doing is I'm getting some experts on, and Ken is going to be our second to weigh in on this. And I think it's an interesting question.
Who was our first?
Our first was Coach,
the
SEAL. He answered this question, and we had this discussion. He kicked it off for us, and Ken Campbell from Gunsight is going to be our second expert. And I'm really excited to hear his perspective on this, and I think it's kind of a cool little question. It's not something I've heard a series or many people talk about. So, Ken, how you doing?
Hey, Free America calling.
The chair is against the door. The chair is against the door.
Father has a large brown mustache.
There you
something
go.
like that.
All right, my friend. So here's the. I'm going to set up the question. Did we ask you? Do you know the question I'm about to ask you at all? Do you know the topic?
About 1911.
Okay,
that's
good.
about
All right.
it.
I wasn't sure if we prepared you or not. I don't think you need to be prepared for this. You're a wealth of knowledge. I think you probably could have answered this just as well without any preparation at all. You have a lifetime of preparation, and that's why I think you're going to be the perfect person to weigh in on this. So the idea is this: a 1911 obviously came out in 1911. What a coincidence! And back in 1911 when it came out, they were still like a Colt Army. Revolvers were still dominant, and not new revolvers, like old school revolvers. I mean, the 1911, which has really barely changed much at all since 1911, was so advanced for its time. I mean, it really was. When I talked about it the first time, I said it might as well have been a spaceship. It was so far ahead of the game. Now, everybody can argue now, well, there's other guns that are better. Okay, fine. But it's 100+ years later. Back then, that design was enormously unique and clearly successful because, like I said, it's barely changed, and it inspired so many other similar designs, so many other manufacturers who use the same thing. So that's the setup. The question is, it came out in 1911. Semi-autos really didn't overtake the popularity of revolvers until, I'm going to say, the 80s. Why do you think it took so long for semi-autos? Why didn't the 1911 just completely take over the market? Why were revolvers so popular still for the next 60, 70 years?
Okay, well, that was a long setup. The 1911 is a tremendous pistol. And let me talk about some assets to it, and then I'll get into directly answering your question.
Sure.
And I carried a 1911 on duty for 25 years as a sheriff's deputy. And as I worked my way up through the ranks as a firearms instructor, a SWAT guy, and finally the sheriff and so on, one of the great things about it is whether I had some big miscreant of nature deputy, one of these great big guys, or whether it was one of my more diminutive, whether it was a male or a female, I could take that gun and make it fit their hands with simple armor modifications. And as much as I like the fantastic plastic guns, the Glocks and the striker fireds, they're fat, and you have a hard time getting a proper grip on it and proper trigger finger placement without some serious expensive modifications. So it's really, it was, John Browning is a genius and continues to be.
Yeah.
Now,
way ahead of its time.
as to your question, I think revolvers had such a long history, starting with, Sam Colt and before, and then working on through the double action revolvers they had early on in World War I, and even into World War II, the Colt 1909s and the Colt 19 and the Smith and Colt 1917s, the Victory models, and so on. But they have such a strong history here, and people were pretty well convinced, be sure with 6 and so on. But I think as
wait, I'm sorry to interrupt, but be sure with 6, was that kind of a slogan or a saying when it came to supporting revolvers?
Be sure with 6, and they were fearful of semi-automatic pistols that they would fail, they would malfunction, right? Mm-hmm. So, but as we evolved and our training evolved, they learned that these guns are accurate, they are reliable, you can count on them to shoot, and so now we have to kind of change that culture into believing in these. And cops and military folks they're pretty hard-headed, and I earn my right to say that, right? As to the cop side of it, and it takes a while for them to come around to this new culture. So I think that's a lot of it in there. But when Jeff Cooper came about and started studying shooting, and when he went to war, he initially went with the single action army in World War II as a Marine security detachment and on a destroyer, and then switched to a 1911 pistol. So then he started studying that and doing training with it. He went, as part of his assignment when he got back, he went to the FBI Academy in Quantico, and he said that they accused him of cheating because he was shooting a 1911 and the agents were shooting revolvers. Well, there's something to be said there. In my old life, we called that a clue. You're not necessarily cheating. It has its inherent abilities here that are good. So I think a lot of it just had to do with trying to change that culture and also getting really good training in place.
Wow.
And,
so the culture, well, the military picked it up quicker than law enforcement. Picked up in 1911 quicker than law. So you're saying you think law enforcement, was it a stubbornness and out of maybe an ignorance, or was it a, hey, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Well, I think a little bit all of the above. It's not so much ignorance, just they didn't know what they didn't know. And there is a strong propensity for all of us that, like you say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if it was good enough for my dad, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
So I think there was some of that. But as times changed and training evolved and they got some fresh eyes, fresh minds on things and realized these do work, it started happening. But you got to remember there were also some pretty knowledgeable gun people, the Charles Askins and Skeeter Skeltons and so on out there that were really promoting that newfangled 357 and that 41 Magnum. So there were some competing sources there as well, as opposed to just the tried and true old 45 ACP.
So they weren't just I see. So some of the problems that were being fixed, or some of the ways they were making things better, was not necessarily to change the equipment, the firearm, but to change change the caliber, change the quality of the ammunition and that sort of thing. So that was kind of its
change how you learn how to use it.
Interesting. That's
before. Remember, it was one hand stuck in your back pocket, and or you thrust the gun out and you crouch, that old FBI crouch, and you'd fire from there without using the sights, and that began changing. So it's just a whole cultural change in how we shoot, why we shoot, what we shoot with. And then there was more information on I remember my dad telling me he was an Army Air Corps, World War II vet. He was down in the South Pacific 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how they came and took the sergeants' 45s from them so they could get them out to the frontline troops, because the revolvers, and they were Victory models and 38 Smith & Wesson caliber revolvers and so on, they weren't working. So they had to get those 45s out front. So we were starting to learn more and more about what bullets can do or what they cannot do. I think I can't say it's just one thing or another thing. Yeah. I think it's just a mixture of those three you pointed out are a really good starting point.
All right, there's that's interesting. There's a lot more I want to ask you about it too, because I do, like I said, I haven't really heard it discussed from this angle, and it hasn't really occurred. I think we're all so used to a 1911, and some of us are so used to bashing 1911s, like, oh, the old guys use 1911s. I love my striker fire. I love my Glock or whatever. Or I love my SIG or whatever. We're all in good fun. That I don't think it's such a piece of our current culture that I don't think people really think back to. Hey, man, when this thing first came out, it was phenomenal. It was
cutting edge, state of the art. And at Gunsight, people bring everything. Mm-hmm. 1911s, striker fire, the whole family of all those. We're seeing a resurgence of revolvers.
Really?
And
let's talk about that after the commercial, Ken. That's very interesting. Let's talk about that right after the commercial.
I'll stand by to stand by.
All right. Sounds like a plan. This is Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This is Dennis Prager, and now a truly exciting new benefit. My monthly online video.
You a bear on a circus bike?
Wait, who is that?
It's me.
No, when was that?
That was last year.
No,
you need some big old mutton chops on there.
I don't remember you having that much facial hair.
Yeah,
and it looks like, if you don't mind my saying, it looks like you're in good shape, buddy.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Good for you.
But I seen that picture, I went, fuck. So I told her, I said, here, you got the keys. Here's the pink slip, and I gave her the bike. And it only had 11 miles on it.
Who did you give the bike to?
Brittany.
Oh, you gave her the bike?
I don't pay her. to be co-host or anything. So.
Yeah. Well, she's awesome.
And I look stupid on that thing.
She earns everything you don't pay her, my friend.
Yeah, well, I just gave her
every dime you don't give her, she earns that.
I just gave her $1,000.
Well, are we allowed? Remember, we're on.
This okay. It's not dirty.
Okay.
So I gave her $1,000 because she blew the motor up in her race car.
Oh.
And so
she kicks ass.
So you can't say that on.
You can say ass.
Can you say ass?
You said, I don't remember what you said. Your first sentence, you had something in audio out there, too.
You can't remember.
She's like, you don't say ass on YouTube.
Can you say ass on YouTube?
You can say ass on YouTube.
Okay, well, in that case. Hey, did you know Steve Cohen?
I will defend it.
Went to Mar-a-Lago?
No.
Oh,
yeah, and he sat with Trump.
I know Trump.
I do too.
What did he say?
He said he was the nicest guy, and he says when he talked to you, it's like you were the only guy in the room.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this whole thing that Trump is some kind of lunatic or whatever, or that he's not nice. When the left turned against Romney for being a bad person.
That's what they were talking about.
I'm like, come on.
And they do it intentionally to disrupt him, even though they know none of it's true. They just do it for disruption.
I'm not talking about his policies.
No.
I'm not talking about Romney's policies.
I'm talking about the person.
As a person, I can't think of a better president, a better person than Mitt Romney. And for them to pretend he was some kind of bad person,
But it's a technique they follow. Woof, woof. Got a cookie?
No.
This is Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
Learn to fly. You want to learn to fly? You want to get a pilot's license? This San Diego is one of the best places to get your airplane pilot's license because pilots can fly almost every day. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International. Gun Owner Radio listeners, check this out. For 1 hour of ground school, 1 hour of flight with an instructor, you get to fly. That's a $400 value. But for our listeners, you only pay $350. You need to give them a call, 858-569-1822, or just learn to fly, SDFTI. That's 858-569-1822.
Hey, so Ken, we're asking Ken Campbell from Gunsight the question about 1911. It's basically a 1911 is so good. Why didn't it overtake in popularity revolvers much quicker than it did? And Ken, I want to talk about ammo. I want to talk about what you were saying, kind of a resurgence in popularity of revolvers. But before, I want to ask, the question has some assertions built in. That a 1911 is phenomenal and was way ahead of its time, that it even should have overtaken revolvers. Is it a good question? Is the premise a good question, or what are your thoughts on that?
I'll tell you some others I've sat here pondering during your commercial break.
Sure.
When they did start seeing that transition from revolvers over to semi-automatic pistols, they went into traditional double-action pistols. The Smith & Wesson 39s and 59 series and the 645s and the SIG 226s and so on, because they had that traditional double action trigger on the first shot and then a single action shot on the second one. A lot of folks are nervous with the 1911 because, oh my God, the gun's cocked. And they don't understand. They don't know that that's the way it's supposed to be, and all the internal safeties, the thumb safety, the grip safety, and so on. They don't understand that it is safe just the way it is. And until you disengage those two safeties, the grip safety and the thumb safety, and put your finger on the trigger and press, the gun will not go off. But they wanted that long traditional double action trigger press. So they kind of eased their way into it.
That's interesting. So that kind of hindered the popularity right there. That's interesting.
I think so, yes. But then once they also found out, like with the striker fired, it's not a double action trigger. It's not a true single action trigger, but I think it's closer to a single action than a double action. When you get that, when the gun is easier to shoot, you are more accurate with the gun. Mm-hmm. And that's what's critical. It's not that I'm going to get him with one of the 17 rounds or one of the 9 rounds. I'm going to get this miscreant with the first round or two. So once they started learning that the gun is safe, cocked and locked, and it is easier to shoot, and I can make it fit everybody's hands, which lets them shoot better, it's win across the board. But again, I can remember as a deputy, somebody coming up to me at a Kiwanis meeting and say, "Deputy, your gun's cocked." And if I knew them, I'd have a little fun and say, don't worry, I'm like Barney, I got my bullet here in my shirt pocket. Everything's safe. But I think some of that's in there also.
So how much of the, well, let me ask you this. Did it move into, did it go, was the timeline correct, or do you think we all kind of missed out by a few decades and that in 1911 it really should have taken off sooner? Or do you think that the timeline it went down was right?
I think with the inability to train masses of people then, now we have, you don't want to, because you see it on the internet, doesn't mean it's true, of course, except on your radio show.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Ken.
The training there that people could see and read much easier than if they had to go buy a book or get to the periodical store and buy the latest, greatest Guns and BS magazine to see what was going on. Now the information is out there, so they can learn a bit more. So I think it was slowed down some by that. But if they'd have taken that jump into again, I'm pro 1911. I carried one. I carry one almost all the time. They work. They're accurate. It's easier for me to teach you to shoot with it. I can't see the downside to them.
I actually have a follow-up question, Ken, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So from a defensive perspective, so given the change in the quality and the ability of ammunition now that we have, these 1911s coming out in 9mm, what's your thought on the 45 versus the 9 on the 1911 platform? Pros, cons.
Oh gosh, I'm not going to get sucked into that rabbit hole.
How was the cartridge?
Here's my answer to that. You pick the biggest caliber that you can accurately and quickly shoot and get quick follow-up shots with. That's what you want. And if it takes it to be a 9mm, so be it. Just be accurate with your shots. That's what you want. I'm not advocating you need to carry a 22 or a 25, although I had a dear friend, a state trooper, murdered with a 25 auto. But you pick the biggest caliber that you can accurately, quickly shoot. That's what you want.
How much of the success or lack of success and popularity of the 1911 was because of the cartridge? Starting in 1911, how much better was a 45 or worse was a 45 caliber, ACP?
Well, it was better. Now remember, we're talking ball ammo back then, 230 grain ball versus those 38 caliber, kind of light loaded. So 0.38 of an inch versus 0.45 of an inch. Well, that 0.45 of an inch, not trying to be gross, but what you want to stop the miscreant as quickly and as efficiently as you can. And the way you do that is either through central nervous system, the brain and the spine, or you've got to create a big permanent hole. Elmer Keith said it best. Big bullets. They let out a lot of blood. They let in a lot of cold air. You want something. God made us neat. When you poke a hole in it, your body wants to close up around it, except for that permanent tissue destruction is. And that's one of the advantages of bigger bullets. You want it to open up a big hole, and you want it to penetrate deeply.
So you think that the cartridge was always, from day one, from 1911 on, the 45 ACP was definitely an advantage of the 1911?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
It was more powerful than the 9mm they were using then. Again, we're speaking ball ammo, and the 38 Smith & Wesson and the 38 special loads, which were also ball ammos that they were shooting then.
How much better or worse, how much different was a 1911, let's say let's give them a couple years to get worn in, a 1920 1911 and a 1980 1911. How much was the 1980 1911 significantly better or different?
Well, again, that's one of those rabbit holes you can go down in there. In the early days, they were hand fitted. There were true craftsmen making them. As we got into the more recent years, there were MIM parts and things like that. But the guns are still accurate and reliable. Are they maybe quite as glass slick as they were in 1920? Maybe not. But how many angels can dance on the head of that pin?
So, but that wasn't a factor. Quality wasn't a factor in the question. It wasn't because, well, gee, 1911 didn't really turn out to be a quality product until nothing like that. It was a quality product from day one.
No, I've got a USGI issued 1911, not an A1, a 1911 that saw service, and it shoots more accurately than I do.
Nice. So you said that there's and I've kind of noticed it too. I thought maybe it was my imagination, or how when you learn a new word and suddenly you hear it everywhere. You were saying that revolvers are starting to kind of have a resurgence of popularity. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, not starting. They started a few years back, and if you bring a revolver to our regular 250 pistol class, we'll teach you to run it. But we started doing revolver only 250, which is entry level, and 350 intermediate level a few years ago, because then we can get into the weeds on manipulations of revolvers. So we're seeing those. We host it's called the Pat Rogers Memorial Revolver Roundup every year, just before Thanksgiving. And we have 100 shooters. We limit it to that. And it's a 3-day symposium with revolvers. And 100 is not hard to fill. We hit it every year. Where, matter of fact, I'm out of town right now, but when I get back later this week, I'll probably be closing registration because I think we're a little over 100. So revolvers are back, especially the 2-inch and the 3-inch. And, a lot of people say, well, I heard somebody on there saying I've got a Glock 19 or whatever that I carry regularly.
That's me.
A lot of guys, I always carry my bigger gun, but then they're going to run down to the corner store and they stuff a J-frame revolver in their pants.
Yeah.
With a speed strip in their back pocket. So realistically, a lot of people, or whether they're carrying them as a backup. I've got a friend with Indianapolis Metro Police. There's a great video out there. He got into a fight with a bad guy in a Burger King right outside the restroom. They go down to the ground into a wrestling match. Bad guy gets the officer's gun. In the struggle, the gun goes off and frags the officer, and the officer has the presence of mind to produce a J-frame out of a pocket holster of his uniform pants and stop the bad guy. So I'm not shy carrying a revolver. They're accurate, reliable, robust. It's the man, it's not the gun. It's the person, it's the operator, not the gun.
If someone says, "Hey, I'm going to my everyday carry is going to be a revolver," and it's not like some guy who's just really into revolvers. It's not like it's somebody that's just being practical. They're not a big gun person, whatever. Do you think that person has to get a revolver that's hammerless, or no?
I like the option of being able to cock it to single action if I need to. Most of mine either have hammers or it has a bobbed hammer. It's cut back, but I can still thumb cock it if I need to. The gun's made to be shot double action. You need to learn to shoot it accurately like that. But when I went to the academy, we had a 50-yard line at the qualifications, and you were allowed to cock the gun to single action at that point, because it allows you a little more accuracy because of that lighter trigger press. So whatever works for you. It's like going in the car dealership and saying, I need to buy a truck.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean?
Right.
I mean, you need a semi or you need an F-150. What do you want it for? How are you going to carry it? What distances do you anticipate having to shoot at, and so on?
All right, last question. What is a semi-auto that you think think's better than a 1911? Is there a particular manufacturer and model that you think, you know what, these guys overtook 1911s with this?
No, I'll tell you, and I go back to my decades of carrying and shooting them. It is easier for me to teach somebody to shoot a 1911 accurately than it is the other guns. My wife carries a Glock regularly and a SIG 365. She shoots it well, but she shoots her 1911 9mm Commander better.
Nice.
And again, it goes back to trigger press, how you can grip the gun properly, and so on.
Ken Campbell?
I think they're hard to beat. So
awesome. Thank you so much. Ken Campbell from Gunsight. That was very interesting. I really appreciate your time, man. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Hey, when are you coming to Gunsight?
We're talking about that actually in chat right now.
We are?
We are.
Don't tease me.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Hey, folks, this is Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hi, this is Ken Anderson from Walter Anderson Nursery. Garden Talk is back on the air. Join David Ross.
Well, you got a couple other people coming on that we're gonna ask this.
When you get
What's your answer?
When you get your teeth.
Did you ask
and
Dave?
something.
Did you ask Dave?
Dave doesn't know. He can't even even spell 1911.
No, I can't. I don't know how. I looked it up one time, but I couldn't find it.
So this next segment, I'm going to talk about a couple things.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about one thing, and you'll see.
Okay.
It'll be interesting, or maybe it won't.
Why
I don't
are
know.
you all dressed up? Where are you going?
I'm not. It's just it
just-
was just a non-work day.
Yeah, she's a.
I don't always look
girly
like a
girl.
lumberjack.
What?
I don't always look like a lumberjack.
Hell,
Well, you
yeah,
know.
you do. You're all fashionista. You got to be doing something.
Lumberjack.
No. When I leave here, I'm planning to go home and eat
Fall
and go to
down.
bed. Probably.
Fall down.
Yeah.
So Michelle went with me to the wall last night.
Yeah.
She was too freaking cold, so she sat in the rolls.
Yeah.
Homeless guy tried to get into the car.
Jeez, are you serious?
He was scared. shitless.
What? That's crazy. Man.
He says, "Well, somebody from Vietnam must be doing good."
Wow.
Surprised he knew what it was. Well, I got to do a patio segment at KUSI.
Patio segment.
Oh, that's good.
On
Right? That's
patio
good.
furniture. What is that?
All of it.
That's why you got the 600. That's why you went big.
Well, no, I just happened to get it, and I told Tommy, I said, if you have me do a video on this,
T diggity.
yeah, so Tommy's freaking out because ratings are in the shitter at KUSI.
I wonder why.
Well, because they're not. All right, folks. Hey, welcome back to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
Hey, Riverside.
Hey.
Hey, you too, San Bernardino. You know, the gun grabbers are getting even more desperate. Let's face it, all these laws disarm only the people that would use a gun to defend themselves. Fight back and do something to defend your Second Amendment right. Join Inland Empire gun owners right now. We're growing the 2A community and are getting more pro 2A officials elected. Memberships, $10. Can't buy breakfast for that. So joining's real easy. Just go to iegunowners.com/join. Who's Mike?
That's me. So there's a couple of cases that have to do with assault weapons bans, right? An assault weapon is, you know, the state of California, state of New York both has a definition.
I thought we weren't going to use that term.
Well, they've defined it. They've decided, hey, you know what? But it's not an industry term. They've said, they described a gun and said we're going to call this thing an assault weapon, but it's a pejorative term. Mm-hmm. It's a politically driven term. It's not an industry term. It's not like the example I always give is pickup truck. Anybody in the world, you say what's a pickup truck, and you're going to get the same description.
Exactly.
It is an industry term. So, you know, and I think there's something I wanted to talk about in particular, because there's, of course, the Miller case with the assault weapons ban in California. There's the Bianchi case out of Maryland that's making its way. And I think we're getting closer and closer and closer. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about, and it is how to talk about a specific term or word that keeps getting thrown around ever since, and even before, but especially since the Heller case, the Second Amendment Supreme Court case back in 2008, which still holds, still is an important case, and there's a lot of things that are, still standing, but really the Bruin case kind of overtook it and said, you know what, there's actually a different standard now. But the term is dangerous. They keep talking about how, it's dangerous, and many of the judges who have supported an assault weapons ban have said, hey, these guns are dangerous. And especially in the Heller case, they even said, they talked about, the word dangerous. What does it mean, And there's a couple other terms like exotic and normal or popular or whatever, and then dangerous. And I wanted to talk about that word dangerous because I've even hearing, thought leaders, attorneys, guys that are really smart. They're not talking about the word dangerous and what it really means and why these judges are getting that word wrong. You wouldn't think that they'd get a word like dangerous wrong, but they are. Usually when they say, oh, yeah, and the judge said it was dangerous, you know, that an AR is dangerous, they usually just go, that's ridiculous, and they move on. Well, let's talk about it. You know, an AR is not dangerous. And you can use the word dangerous in a lot of different ways. But what is meant by, you could ban something that's dangerous. You know, if it were a dangerous weapon, you could ban it.
You want to hear the definition?
Go for it.
Likely is the cause, right? To cause problems or to have adverse consequences.
Exactly. Now, if you take and so let's talk about what does that mean? What does that actually look like? If you were to take an AR, it can even be loaded, you know, completely loaded with one in the chamber, and you put that AR on this table, and the three of us here have this AR, and we sat there and stared at it, you know, at what point would somebody get hurt?
Same thing with your keys.
Right.
Your keys could be dangerous.
Right. Now, people say, well, gee, Mike, if you shoot somebody with an AR, that's dangerous. If you shoot somebody with anything.
That's an act.
If you shoot somebody with a BB gun, it could be dangerous. You know, that's the act. That's the verb, right? I mean, if you walk on railroad tracks, that's a dangerous thing to do.
Sure.
You know, but the railroad tracks aren't dangerous. Mm-mm. You know, they're just inanimate objects to sit there. So what is an example of something that is dangerous? Well, what if you had a chunk of metal that was radioactive, and you put that on the table, and the three of us sat here? That's dangerous.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What if you had some chemicals?
Right.
You know that. What if you had 20 pounds of fentanyl sitting right here? That's dangerous.
Right.
You know, if you had chemicals with fumes, that's dangerous. And the difference is that just by its your proximity to it, its very being. You know, if you do nothing more than just stand next to it or touch it, or it's in your proximity, it could hurt you. It could kill you.
Alicia could be dangerous.
She can be very dangerous.
I know.
She can be very dangerous.
Make her mad.
But that's what they mean. So when they go, oh, well, AR, that's dangerous. If you shoot somebody with it, it's dangerous. Yeah, that's not what is meant by it. It is not, its nature is not it's not a dangerous
it's not
thing.
Dangerous in itself.
Correct. Again, shooting someone with it is dangerous to the person being shot.
If I shot you with a rubber band in the eye, that's
dangerous. Maybe not as dangerous, but it's dangerous.
Well, I tell you, if I hit you good.
And shooting somebody with any gun is dangerous. And so it's not the object that is dangerous. It is the act that is dangerous. And I think we need to push back on this a little bit more. An AR is not exotic, meaning it's not strange or unusual. It's very much a firearm, just like any other firearm, and it functions just like a firearm, just like any other firearm. I mean, generally. And it is not dangerous. It's in common use because it's not dangerous.
Right.
If it were dangerous and it were in common use, then people would just, be, just by it sitting in their house.
Well, since judges are so anal when it comes to word definitions and what have you, why do they not push back on this?
Well, I don't feel like our side is doing a good enough job of pushing back on, saying, hey, that's not what's meant by dangerous.
Right.
And if they have, I haven't certainly read every single argument in every single paper, so maybe there is something out there where there was a discussion about this in open court. But the other side, the judges that are saying, oh, no, this is dangerous. First off, they were looking at the Heller decision and basically saying they're trying anything they could to get these guns banned, and he was fairly clear saying, hey, look, if it's not dangerous, if it is in common use, you can't ban it. And they're like, wait, so if it's dangerous you can ban it? Great, then we're going to redefine this as being dangerous.
But what if it's empty? Is an empty gun dangerous?
Of course not. But that's what they're attempting to do is okay, well, we're going to cling on to that word because it was actually in a Supreme Court decision. They gave a criteria that, hey, if it's dangerous, you can ban it. So they're redefining it. The judges, like you said, who should be sticklers for the English language, that are saying, hey, this thing's dangerous, therefore you can ban it, are activist judges.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, without a doubt. They're activist judges, so they're not actually trying to apply the law. They're not actually trying to, And
how do they get away with it?
Well,
They're not challenged.
I mean, what do you do?
That's my point.
But I mean, how challenged how?
Well, I mean, when you have a judge that you know is blatantly wrong, making wrong assumptions,
What can you do?
Or that's my point. What can you do?
You can appeal. So if you look at an appeal and then they get overruled by a higher court, as then they're not getting away with it. But the system was designed. Now there are lower level judges where if you they get voted on, so you can technically vote some judges out of office. But those judges aren't making Second Amendment decisions. Typically the Second Amendment judges are federal judges who are appointed. But so on a lower level, but the judges are running for office are, like family court judges, and they're doing divorce cases and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now I'm oversimplifying. Somebody out there is, yelling at their radio saying, no, but they also, I get you. But what I'm saying is the judge that said, hey, an AR is dangerous, therefore these assault weapons bans stand. You can't vote that judge out of office.
Right.
That judge was appointed, and they're pretty much there until they don't want to be there anymore.
So the whole AR, the assault weapons, right? So
Yep.
what if I bring in a Mini 14, something Woodstock, still chambered at 223, still you can put those same 10-round mags in that we can still get here in California. Yeah. How is it that the AR and why the AR is so separated out? It's not any less or more.
Yeah, well, I think we've made it. I think it's an excellent question. I think another mistake we've made is we went years ago. We went down this road of, hey, it's only a 5.56 caliber. That's nothing. Like it was some kind of weekend. No, it's lethal force. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't have backed off.
Hole in you.
We shouldn't have tried to pretend that an AR and a 5.56 is inconsequential, because you scratch the surface and they could figure out, all right, you're not fooling us. But the other thing we did is we did this whole thing, civilian ARs they're not weapons of war, it's totally different from an M16. No, it's not totally different from an M16. We never should have tried that trick either.
Right.
It is absolutely a weapon of war, and that's the entire point. That's what the Second Amendment is protecting. Right. And you talk to guys, and I've never been to combat, I've never been in the military. So I went and asked people who were and did, and it's my experience that you can pretty much ask anybody that's been in combat in the last 20 years. There are people who have fully automatic weapons, and they're filling a specific role in a squad. But no, they do have 3-burst capability in an M4, but they are going to war with a semi-automatic rifle. Mm-hmm. So this idea that it was no, it's totally different. I thought that was a chicken move. We never should have done that. We always should stand up and say, yes, if a foreign government invades my country, this is the arm I'm going to use in order to defend my neighborhood, my country, my state. And that's exactly what the Second Amendment is trying to defend. That they want to make sure that I have that right to keep and bear that arm. And I thought that was a huge mistake of trying to downplay an AR like it was a pop gun or something. It's not. And it's exactly why. The fact that it's not a pop gun is exactly why it's protected by the Second Amendment, and it's exactly why I want to own it. So anyway, dangerous. Everybody, go talk about the word dangerous to your friends and family. Tell them that example of like, hey, some kind of radioactive stone is dangerous because there's nothing you can do to control it.
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite is dangerous to Superman. An AR is not dangerous.
Exactly. That's a good segment.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yeah.
This is Gun Owners Radio. FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer. So when you drive that thing around, are you just like, have you driven a lot of Rolls Royces?
I've driven a few, but one of the questions that he asked me when I interviewed him before I drove it was he wanted me to compare it with a V12. Which usually is
what is it? Is it an 8?
It's electric.
Your Rolls is electric?
What?
Boogie oogie oogie.
You can't tell the difference between an electric and the V12. Now think about this. I left Alpine with 250.
What do you mean? With
250-mile range.
Okay.
And I got the KUSI with 268.
Why did it pick up?
Curvature of the earth and the fact that
Because
you're coming down
what's
the
his
hill
name?
from,
The guy who is.
But if I went when I go the
When you
other
go home.
way, I lose. What?
I was gonna say, let's get that guy from who complained about gravity and the solar system being all wrong, whatever his name was.
What?
You don't know the physicist guy, the very famous one. I'm trying to remember his
Neil
name.
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. We
The
need
guy
to get
that's
Neil
all
deGrasse
crippled
Tyson.
and all bent.
No, he's already dead.
Uh-oh.
Did he die?
Can't get him.
What, they unplug him?
Actually, it's battery right now. If you charge it.
He was going uphill.
I know. Well, that most
Yeah.
British people are that.
His mileage didn't go from 250 to 268.
But I got to tell you, and the headliner right now is Shooting Stars. So you're driving along and it's.
What?
Yeah.
It's not
But I tell
distracting.
you, it's so bright inside that car at night. It's just freaky. You wouldn't be able to do that.
What are you trying to do?
Nothing. Too bright.
I think it's I think it's funny that I keep thinking about you in a Rolex, like a Daytona Rolex, rolling around in that Rolls Royce. I think it's
driving my arm out the window.
it's kind of funny that Rolex, one of their most iconic, fashionista, models, is named after Daytona, like the total redneck town in Florida, no less.
Florida, no less. I have to agree with
it's
that.
not exactly Monte Carlo or
Yeah,
Daytona,
or Versailles or something. Daytona.
Sarasota. They should name it the Sarasota.
Yeah, but you would buy a Rolex if you could.
I'd buy a Rolex. I'm not a big Rolex fan though. I like Omega. I like
Reason you're not a big Rolex
Longines.
fan is because you never had a Rolex.
I just it's not.
What Leo said.
Leo's the one that turned me on to Omegas.
He likes those better than.
He comes up. I got to tell you, man. Last time I had lunch with him, he had like a $300,000 something I'd never even heard of. It had like a 500-year calendar on it.
What?
So you never would have to reset this thing for 500 years.
Wow.
And so,
I hear the plane on it was so bright you can't even see the.
yeah. So no, he's actually the one that turned me on to the Omegas. The Omegas, not yet. I can't afford it.
Let me go get
But then the Grand Seiko is I really want this Grand
See, the
Seiko.
Omega, it just doesn't click.
Okay, so this is part of why I don't like Rolexes. They're for people who want to show off, not for watch people.
But it doesn't make
You
a
know?
difference.
But I'm not
Usually,
trying to impress.
if you-
Nobody's impressed. You know who's impressed by Rolex? Like, yeah,
Other Rolex.
strippers in Vegas. They see you got a Rolex, then you're going to get some attention. Other than that,
I go to Mexico
I know
and get a
Dave's like, why is
Rolex.
that not a good?
Because you can get more action with that watch than you can a Rolex.
I've found that the only people who care about what kind of watch I'm wearing are, watch guys like me.
He's old man.
By the way, you're slacking off on your posts. By the way.
What posts? Well, I haven't seen any interesting watches. I haven't found any. Wait a minute. I just put up two. A Breitling and a Rolex.
Wait, did you take a photo of the watch I gave him? The Dale Hart Jr. and Dale Hart Sr. watch?
I don't think I took it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, dude, Rolex is big. One of their big ones. Their big one is the Submariner, but their second biggest is a Daytona.
Daytona 500. Or
Swear.
it's actually it's a Rolex.
Daytona. I'll be.
Gee golly wee.
I know, the most redneck town in all the United States, and Rolex is like, we're gonna make a really nice
How
watch.
much is Paul Newman?
Is it like a Daytona, like in Greece or
Paul
something?
Newman's
or-
Daytona Rolex?
Well, the Daytona 500. That's why they.
Oh, that's because
Yeah,
of the Daytona
yeah.
500?
Well,
'cause it's,
actually, it's a Daytona Rolex.
But it's named after the race because it's got a tachyometer, which helps you judge
Like
how
you're
fast
going to
somebody's
use that
going.
when you're racing.
Yeah.
I know.
There's lots of guys sitting there looking at their watches.
And then I took a picture when I was at Daytona of a Rolex that's this big. Well, it's a track clock.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's great.
Did you get your tickets for the Vegas F1 yet, or no? Oh, okay. Just checking. No one is.
You're not going?
They barely sold any last
I
year.
know, and they screwed themselves and everybody else. And they ruined the town for 3 weeks.
I mean, a Rolex. Nah, I'm not gonna say that. It's probably not accurate. Sorry. Welcome to Gun Owners Radio. We are your Second Amendment community. Interviews, product reviews, politics, trivia. Gun Owners Radio has it all and more. Check us out at gunownersradio.com and tune in every week to hear Dave Stahl, Michael Schwartz, and all our guests talk about everything Second Amendment. Here we go.
Yeah, all right, folks. Welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
Hey, if you're a gun owner,
I am.
if you ever need to use your gun to protect yourself or your loved ones, you need legal protection. Even if you do everything right, even if you're 100% justified, you know you should be prepared for the legal battle after your self-defense battle. That's why you need firearms legal protection. When you join, you get uncapped legal protection for self-defense, for civil or criminal cases, with a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline. Joining is real easy. Just go to firearmslegal.com and click on Become a Member button. Use code GOR for a discount. Enjoy the peace of mind knowing that you are protected. And if you are ever involved in a self-defense incident, you just get a hold of firearmslegal.com and use your discount code GOR. Alicia.
Yes.
What's your favorite watch?
One that tells the right time.
So you don't care?
No.
No desire
Nope.
whatsoever?
Nobody cares.
Not saving up?
No.
Okay.
Nobody cares about watches except for nerdy watch guys.
Yeah, there are a few of those in the room.
My favorite one's the Casio calculator watch from the 80s.
Especially on test day.
I think we should just move right along with the show. What do
I
you
used to have a buddy who had a watch. This is back in the 80s. He had a watch, and if you hit a button, it played Thriller, and Michael Jackson actually danced.
On the watch?
And I was like, that's
your kind of watch.
That's pretty classic.
See, that's what started you.
I'm not sure if that was a Rolex or not. I don't think so, but
maybe not.
If anybody has that watch, I'd like to buy it. Okay, so subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list and win some swag. This week's winner is William Quesada, Quesada. William, I hope I got your last name correct. I don't think I did. Email prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your T-shirt or your hat. Make sure to let us know if you want a T-shirt, what size you want. Something cool is happening here. We want you to be aware of the symposium videos are being released. So Rich did a outstandingly fantastic and awesome job of putting all these speakers together for the gun show symposium that happened March 2nd and 3rd. And so if you missed out on the symposium in March, early March, subscribe to Gun Owners Radio's email newsletter to get notified when they're published. Gun Owners Radio, of course, many of you are listening right now on YouTube, and we have a YouTube channel. If you're listening to us on Spotify or one of the other podcast replays of this show, or if you're listening to us on the radio, check out youtube.com/Gun Owners Radio, and you're going to get to see all the guest speakers who came and spoke at the symposium. Some of them talked about training. Some of them talked about firearms. Some of them talked about first aid. Some of them talked about politics. It was very, very interesting and extremely well done. And Rich is slowly releasing each so that you can get some cool free info. Did you see any of them yet, Alicia?
I did not.
Are you
Not
one
yet.
of them this time?
Nope, not this year.
Oh, okay. You were one of them last time.
Yeah, the year before.
Yeah. What did you talk on? I forget.
We did situational awareness, kind of aimed specifically at youth.
Nice.
Kids.
So just released. I'm gonna mess this name up. How do you say that last name? Jason.
Ooh, Crotow?
Crotow? Gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Jason. He is. We released Intro to Long Range Shooting. Check it out. They have a precision rifle class on April 7th. So Jason is doing a precision rifle class on April 7th. I got to tell you, I got this 300 Win Mag that just sits in my safe, ruling the other guns in there.
It's a safe queen.
Oh yeah, she just sits in there and eats bonbons, and
she
orders all the other guns around. Doesn't ever actually leave. You know,
she's a she.
Oh God, has to be.
Okay.
I don't know what that meant.
That's 1-800.
Got a big old Leupold 25 power scope on it, and I need to take.
You got a big stock?
Take Jason's class.
Go take Jason's class.
Yeah.
You have a big
it's
stock?
It's a Steyr. It's a Steyr SSG 04. Came out in 2004. I think I bought it in 2000.
When's the last time you shot it?
7.
But she won't allow you.
Yeah. It's not really the kind. It's not a shooting gun, Dave.
Oh, then what is it?
It's more of a looking gun.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
You
occasionally
guys just
I
sit on the
snuggle.
couch
I
and watch
snuggle.
Red Dawn.
It's a Steyr. It's a 300 Win Mag. It's got a Leupold scope. It's got a Harris bipod.
So it's a car.
I got her up on blocks in the front yard.
Just looking at her.
You know, I swear one of these days I'm going to take her out for a spin.
Yep.
USCCA featured talk, Gary Gibson. Guys, I can't say enough good about Gary Gibson.
We love Gary.
He truly. Gary is just a great guy all around. He's a fantastic attorney. He's a good defense attorney. He's a great defense attorney. His talk on a recent CCW case in San Diego is up, and he talks about what you can do, what you should do if you're ever involved in a defensive gun use incident, a DGU. Which, remember, one of the things San Diego County gun owners did with the help of Gary Gibson is we went and met with the district attorney, Summer Steffen. And they have a pilot program that's working really well that they implemented. If you are in a defensive gun use, a DGU, and you're a CCW holder, you used to basically you were investigated the same way like a gang member was investigated, and not anymore. Now they say, hey, you know what? We're going to have our special operations unit investigate you, who are far more familiar with the concept of self-defense, far more experienced when it comes to defensive gun use incidents, and that is absolutely fantastic. It was really the result of this case that Gary's talking about, because his client really did everything right and was still arrested and actually still went through the court system. And Gary and I sat down and talked and said, you know what, we got to do something. We're not just going to sit here and complain. We're not going to make a meme and put it up on Facebook and, yell and scream. And, we're going to actually have a positive influence on public policy. And that, folks, is activism. That's what activism actually is. Coming up at YouTube.com/gunownersradio, Mike DeSargo's talk on flow state dynamics. What's flow state dynamics? Do you know?
Great question.
Yeah. Well, that's why we got to wait.
That's it.
We got to wait and see. I know he came and talked about it, but I can't really, I don't think I can define flow state dynamics. So Mike's going to do that on his talk. That's coming up. So watch Jason's on long range shooting. Watch Gary's on his CCW case. And then by that time, we'll have Mike DeSargo's talk on flow state dynamics. And then Matthias Quallenberg, he's going to give a talk on raising kids with guns in the home, which I think is an extremely important talk. I'm glad I missed his talk, so I'm looking for it. I don't have any kids that I know of. That I know of. That I don't have any kids, so but it's still something that's kind of interesting to me. I'm interested to see what's he going to say and what advice does he have. What advice do you have on raising guns in a kid household?
Well, how much time do we have? Generally, just a good starting point is, I would say, is don't let it be. I kind of like, especially in California, with it being not such a gun-friendly state, a lot of kids are not raised around it. They're not raised with the knowledge of them. They're not trained in the same way that kids and youth from other states are. So it becomes to be kind of almost like the forbidden wing in a Disney movie. It's something that they kind of strive and aim for, something that they get curious about, and they might someday, when they're old enough and have the abilities or skills, they might try to seek out and find it when mom and dad aren't home. So for me, it was really important to raise my kids around it. My husband's, it was on his hip every day when he came home, so there was no hiding it.
Yeah.
And so it became something that they learned a healthy respect for. And when they were curious and old enough, we took them out and we taught them and we trained them, but we trained them with the understanding that just because they have knowledge doesn't mean now that they have permission whenever they choose to. So, but they learned a healthy respect.
Did they ever ask you why does Dad have a gun?
No.
They never did ask.
I think it was just a normal thing that they were raised with, and it was just understood.
Do they every time he came home? Do they panic? Dad's got a gun!
No.
Jump behind the couch
Not
every single day.
Well, it's like
Nope.
for like 15 years.
Well, when I grew up, I lived with the Hells Angels, and I thought everybody had motorcycles in their house, and I never thought nothing of it.
Yep.
Never questioned it. Just
So
thought
did I.
that's
There's
cool.
there's honestly there's sincerely an important lesson there, because I know there are a lot of things that I thought everyone experienced because I did as a kid.
sure.
But think about if you grew up in a horrible situation, you just think that's how life is. How are you going to turn out?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Who questions it?
All right.
All right, we got to take a break. This is Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
We all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you.
First off,
did for last
Stop.
there's only 3.5 million people. I had a cold
You swap and
a
spit.
month ago. So if you got it a week ago,
He was tonguing me.
you were making out with somebody else. Yes.
I had to look it up. No Michael Jackson.
I was looking for it, too.
But they do have a Looney Tunes and an Elvis Presley one.
Well, I found okay.
The Elvis Presley is $60. The Looney Tunes is $150. I
So
don't know if the Looney Tunes.
Wonder if they have. Maybe it was a. Hey, Rich. All right, I'll check it out. Rich, do we have the?
did it look like either of those? No.
Do we have the press release from
Those are the
ISA?
only two that I found. I
Yeah.
was looking for it.
Before.
It just looks so weird.
I know. Like what? Like
Yeah.
I
It
don't
might
know.
have been the Jackson
5.
5.
So you're just making shit up?
No.
Can you say that on YouTube?
Yeah, you can say
You
shit.
say shit.
You can?
We just talked all
We
the
just
What
talked
word?
about it.
What words can we not say? Is there anything
You
on?
really want to know?
Technically, you can say anything you want.
I'm curious.
Check
Here it
George
is.
Carlin.
Here
Wow.
it is.
You found it?
Michael Jackson, the Jacksons Victory Tour Vintage Children's Watch. It's right here.
Vintage
I found it.
children's watch. Vintage.
Is it a vintage
so
children's watch? or
Michael
a vintage
Jackson and
children's
children's just don't go well together. Let's see.
watch?
He found it.
On eBay.
Which one? Wait. What does it look like? Because I'm finding something.
It's red. It's red and square. Hang on, it's not loading yet.
You had a red one that was square.
Me?
Yeah, the one you showed me was red and square.
Yeah, there was one, but
It wasn't that one. There.
it wasn't that one.
There it is.
That looks like a.
That's a kid's watch.
It's like
Yeah.
like one of those Tamagotchi pet
Like an
watch
etch a
things.
sketch.
Etch a sketch. Okay, that's not anything that I'm coming up with.
Like you don't have enough. All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, Not Me is for women by women and is designed to help women with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. If you're a woman or you know a woman who needs help, have her sign up and we will give her the help she needs. Sign up. Go to notmesd.org. Well, I was thinking the guests I had on the show before the gun show, I gave her a Not Me SD card. I said,
Nice.
"Are you into guns?" And she goes, "No." I says, "Why not?" "I'm really afraid of them." I go, "Really?" I said, "Well, let me check this out. It's all for women. It's just you and a bunch of girls get together. They train you, heavy training.
She was.
And then she did. She
What?
took the card.
Nice. She was a driver. She was a race car driver.
No. This is on before radio.
Oh.
It was a Steve Cohen show.
Good old Steve.
But she was immediately afraid. But she didn't know
was.
why. She didn't know why.
Well, we're afraid of the unknown.
That's it.
We're
Okay.
afraid of Alicia.
Ready for this? We got a press release. Do we have like some kind of dramatic music for a press release?
Is it big enough for you to read?
Press release. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd play. All right, perfect. Everybody knows who United States Congressman Darrell Issa is. He's in California's 48th congressional district. Issa introduces legislation to protect gun dealers from ATF overreach. Washington. Today, Congressman Darrell Issa, California 48, introduced legislation to protect gun store owners from new Biden administration sanctions from the ATF that unfairly target these small businesses and the legal products they provide to customers. Representative Issa's bill, the Fighting Irrational Regulatory Enforcement to Avert Retailers' Misfortune. Did you catch all that? It's the Fighting Irrational Regulatory Enforcement to Avert Retailers' Misfortune, or the Firearm Act. See that?
How clever.
It is kind of clever.
Some college kid did that.
Provides a safe harbor for law-abiding federally firearms licensed holders, so FFLs, granting them the ability to correct minor clerical mistakes and insulating them from ATF retribution. Okay, so basically what he's doing here is, first off, fantastic, and a huge round of applause for Congressman Issa for listening to his constituents and making sure that this bill happens.
It makes me wonder how the lady in Imperial Beach is doing.
She's doing good. She actually was just talking to her last
I mean, is she able to sell guns?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
She is.
But what's happening is, so here's what's pretty important. Granting them, FFLs, granting them the ability to correct minor clerical mistakes and insulating them from ATF retribution. ATF is a predatory agency. They're a tyrannical predatory agency. And I don't say that lightly, but I do sincerely mean it. It is not hyperbole. It is a fact. ATF is...
What is hyperbole?
It means exaggerating.
Then say
it's exaggerating.
A real word. Don't say
that. But it's hyperbole.
But that's stupid.
Hyperbole is the absolute best word that ever existed.
No, it is not.
Which is hyperbole to say.
No, our president uses it. It's stupid.
Not my president.
Not your
anyway,
president.
so ATF, absolutely a tyrannical predatory agency. What do I mean by predatory? I mean, they aren't there to just simply, gee golly gosh, let's make sure that everything, and we're going to work with the firearms industry. No, they're there to take the firearms industry out. Their agents are not your friends.
How long have they been in business?
ATF was created, I believe, in 1968.
Was it 68?
Was the Firearms Act that
I wonder
created
what the
ATF,
reason
but I could be
was.
wrong.
I wonder what the reason.
Well, in 1968, there were a series of assassinations, right?
Yeah, I know a guy.
And so what happened was they said, well, gee, they got these guns from, the mail. It was mail order. So they decided they wanted to implement some kind of system to where, there were checks and balances.
But I think the person they assassinated wasn't shot by just some guy that got a mail order gun.
We're talking about,
if you know what
I hear what you're saying.
I mean, if you know where I'm going here.
But ATF continues to try to completely destroy your ability to keep and bear arms and a dealer's ability to sell. Right before COVID happened, which was 3 years ago now, right?
Gosh, 3 years.
3 years ago this month, right?
Yeah, and we survived it.
Right before it happened, I was invited to a meeting, and FFL called me up and said, hey, are you going to this meeting? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, all the FFLs in San Diego were invited to an ATF meeting. And I said, yeah, sure. Let's I'd like to at least hear what they have to say. So we went to the federal building in downtown San Diego, and there was a presentation. At the time, the federal district attorney was there. I forget the guy's name, Bob something. And he gave this great talk, hey, we're trying to defend life. We're trying to make things go great. We're trying this, we're trying that. So please partner with us. We want to stop trafficking. We want to stop gun trafficking. We want to stop Mexican drug cartels from getting guns. And everybody in the room's going, yeah, I don't want drug cartels to take guns. I mean, that's not what we're in business for. And then he left, and the ATF guy stood up there, and he started talking about like something mundane. He was like, all right, on Form 843 and Section 3, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, I think this might have been a waste of my time. Like, they're just going to talk about, these forms and whatever. That's not something I'm. So I said, you know what? Before I get out of here, though, I want to get a clear answer on off-roster guns. Mm-hmm. If there's a gun, or your family member, whatever, in Arizona, and they want to sell it, your mom lives in Arizona, you live in California, she wants to buy a gun and give it to you, and it's off-roster. What's the process and procedure for that? And so I asked that question. And then I was going to leave and have him talk about forms and whatever the heck, The rest of his presentation was all about off-roster guns. The rest of the presentation,
you hit a hot button.
But it wasn't about like, well, here's how you do it. It was, here's how we're coming after you. That was the rest of the presentation.
Really?
It was, here's how we're coming after you. And I'm going, wait a minute. Why? I thought the guy just came in and said, we're going after drug dealers and cartels. Not what does off-roster pistols have to do? Some Mexican cartel doesn't care if they have a Gen 5 Glock over a Gen 3 Glock. And it was absolutely the most. I'm not easily. I would not describe myself as someone who's easily intimidated. I walked out of that meeting extremely intimidated. Yeah. It was crystal clear to me that the ATF they're coming after gun owners, they're coming after dealers, and they're using this off-roster thing to do it. And they even said, and it was like, well, wait a minute, the roster is a state law. You guys are a federal agency. What do you guys care?
Yeah, what do you care?
Next slide. They said, well, here's the federal law that says, hey, if you're not abiding by state law, then we can enforce.
We're coming in.
Yeah, here's that law. Wow. They were ready. Next slide. Boom. Here's why. So it wasn't like, and why is that important? So it wasn't like they said, well, yeah, here's the thing. Here's why federal agencies are having a problem, so here's how we're going to solve it. It wasn't that. It was, we have to figure out how to go after you guys and shut you down. And so we figured this is probably the best route. It's this confusing piece of law out there. Nobody really knows how to comply. Nobody really knows how this whole off-roster, lineal,
how
familial
long ago
thing
was this?
Right before COVID. It was 3 years ago.
4
years ago. 2020? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 years ago. So a lot happened in those 4 years. Yeah. So, they said, hey, this is how we're coming after you. It wasn't that, hey, there's a problem, we're going to solve it. It was, you're the problem, and here's the law we're going to use to nail you to the cross. Wow. And the other interesting thing is there were some people who were obvious FFLs, they're wearing their store's shirt or whatever. Yeah. And I knew them. Like, I know every FFL or whatever. And then there were a bunch of business suits. And I'm going, who are these guys? Yeah. Again, ladies. It was guys and ladies. Like, what? You're not FFLs. What are you guys doing in the room? Oh, by the way, they said they invited California DOJ, and they can't get California DOJ to come down because it is such a confusing law. There really isn't a clear process for if mom lives in Arizona and son lives in San Diego.
Is it clear now?
No.
I mean, there is a known path, but as far as the legalities of doing it otherwise, it is gray.
There's a very thorough path that FFLs and DGM has done a great job of saying, hey, we're going to do a very thorough job, make sure we do this as right as possible. But DOJ hasn't blessed it. You know what I mean? DOJ hasn't said, yeah, this is the correct path. It's just everyone's best guess. Like, well, hey, we figure if we cover our butts 10 different ways, then that we got a fighting chance here. But ATF is coming in and they're saying, all right, if we audit you and you don't cross your T in the exact way we want you to cross your T, for example, you sold you did an interfamilial transfer or whatever. If you don't do it exactly the way we say, we're not just going to say, hey, you need to correct this on the form and then we'll re-audit you, or just show us you got it corrected and everything's good to go. You're fine. It wasn't that. It was, hey, if you get 2 or 3 of these clerical errors, where you don't cross the T the way you're supposed to, you don't dot it either way, we're going to go ahead and put you out of business permanently. And that's ATF. That's why they're a predatory agency. They're exploiting a vague state law in order to get FFLs out of business, which is their goal. And I got to tell you, the head ATF guy, he ran for judge a few years ago, and he is as slimy as they come.
Did he get it?
No. No, that's why he's still running ATF here in Southern California. Anyway, huge kudos to Darrell Issa for doing this. I hope it passes. From the beginning, the administration has sought to undermine the Second Amendment and weaponize federal agencies against law-abiding citizens and family-owned small businesses targeted for being a part of the lawful firearms industry. And he goes on to say that the Firearms Act will create a safe harbor, requires ATF to work collaboratively with FFLs, and explicitly defines willful to mean a voluntary intentional violation. It gives FFLs the option to go to district court to review it. This is so much needed. huge applause. I hope it passes. I hope it gets signed into law, and it will absolutely protect dealers, and it'll give them the protection that they deserve against a predatory federal agency I don't even think should exist.
And then they will figure out how to come back around and go after it
And
again.
then we'll go and fight them and win again.
And again.
That's
and
the
again.
price of freedom.
That's why you've been put on this planet.
I knew there was a reason.
I did too. Collecting watches, kicking butt. Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
As you know, Mike Lindell has a passion to help us get the best night's sleep of our lives. Now, after he invented the world's best pillow, because that wasn't
Did you ever
enough.
wonder about that?
What do you mean?
Look at you look back on your life,
Yeah.
and then you say, and look where you're at today. Did you ever think this is what you'd be doing?
No. I never knew what I was going to do, though.
Well, I never
I
did.
didn't graduate college.
Trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
For a
What?
while.
He's trying to figure out what he wants to be when he grows up.
What about you?
I'm still trying to figure that out too.
I just take it day by day.
When I grow up, I want to be like Matt.
Like Matt? Matt doesn't even know what the hell he wants to do.
I don't know, man. I honestly.
But I mean, doesn't it make you just sort of pause and say, "Wow, this is kind of strange"? Because there's not many people doing what you're doing.
It's enormously fulfilling. I'll tell you this: when I look back at like all the arguments, so I never respected authority. I always questioned and argued. And teachers, I'm like, wait a minute, I think you're wrong there. Wait a minute, you're not allowed to say I'm wrong.
Oh,
What do you mean I'm not allowed to say you're wrong? Who are you? You know, and so that has always been a problem in my scholastic career and in my work career.
Did I tell you my algebra story?
No.
So I talked to the teacher. I says, "We're getting ready to take algebra." I go, "What the hell is this?" I go, "What? You got A equals 2, B equals 3. What the hell do I need A and B for?" Well, what do you mean? I go, "What part of that didn't you understand? Why do I need A and B if A equals 1 and B equals 2? She couldn't explain it. So I dropped.
You dropped the algebra?
Same thing with English.
We got to figure out what we're going to talk about here, by the way.
We can talk about this.
You don't need English.
Yeah, what do you need English for? What the hell is a dangling participle?
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
I don't want to see yours. I want to see Alicia's. Because Alicia's got one. You can smell it.
Her participle?
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Hunters Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The answer.
Hey, do you belong to an association, a club, or other member-based organizations with a really bad website? It looks old, it's hard to use, and it just doesn't help your group grow. Well, maybe you didn't know about Sage Street. They specialize in helping member-based organizations. They helped SDCGO and have also helped other companies like the YMCA, National City Chamber of Commerce, and a whole lot more. They can help you with your website, membership dues, and emails and social media. Leave frustration behind.
Frustration.
Yeah, I said frustration. What did I say?
Frustration.
No, it's frustration.
No, there's an R in there.
See, I told you I didn't like English. No, that's silent.
Well, you're
that's silent.
successfully avoiding English.
Okay, leave your I can't say it.
Frustration.
It's must I got a loose tooth. Behind and call Sage Tree today. Getting started is real easy. Visit sagetree.com. Click on the schedule appointment button. That's sagetree.com. Click on the schedule appointment button and ask them about frustration. It is frustration.
There's an R.
And how do you pronounce it?
There's no such thing as a silent
R. How do you pronounce it?
Frustration. Frustration.
That sounds like you have a lisp. How do you say it?
Frustration.
Yeah.
She doesn't sound like it.
Well, she said the R. Frustration.
Frustration.
I do sound a little drunk. I'm not.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
Frustration.
Okay. So.
You definitely call it Sage Tree because they're
Yeah,
awesome.
I agree. I totally agree. So we're looking for a topic. We don't know what to talk about.
No, actually, okay. So there's something that came up here, and this is kind of there isn't really an answer. This is a discussion topic, but I think it's thoughtful. Recently, a judge ruled, and it's not particularly important to the discussion exactly what the judge ruled, but in essence, in result, the judge ruled that illegal aliens can own firearms.
Yeah, did you hear that?
So what are your thoughts?
No.
Why not?
They're not even U.S. citizens.
So why does that matter?
Because it happens to be the way this country was put together. And you just had to be you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote. You have to be a U.S. citizen to join the military. You have to have be a U.S. citizen.
I don't think you have to. I don't think you do. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to join the military.
Well, right, not now. They'll take somebody half dead.
So here's why I asked the question.
Why do you ask that question? Do you think they should?
So there's two. Well, I don't know if I think they should or not, but I think it's a worthy conversation to have. And the part of the conversation that I think is worthy to have is more philosophical and kind of foundational to people's political views. So okay, so first off, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are prohibited people who can't own guns, and there are non-prohibited people. So the question is, are illegal aliens prohibited people or not? So
on the background, if you denounce your citizenship, you become a prohibited person. But what if there's not a denouncing, you're just not a citizen?
Well, he just came across the border, goes into a gun store, and says, I want to buy a gun.
Well, so you don't have to be a citizen to own a gun, right? Green card holders can own guns. Legal residents can own guns. But here's the question.
I think the word's illegal.
Okay. Okay. So before we get to the question, so is being an illegal alien, being here illegally, is that a felony? Because if it's a felony and you're convicted of it, then you're a prohibited person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are breaking a federal law.
But they're not necessarily a felony. But here's the real question though: is and by the way, if that's a fact, like hey, it's a felony, we've decided that felons are prohibited people. Okay, I get that. You're either prohibited or you're not prohibited. But the question is, do our rights come from government or are they natural? They come from God or nature?
But now let's ask the law. What's the law? The law is a federal law.
Well, the judge just interpreted the law to that they can.
I found there is a federal law, the Gun Control Act, 18 U.S.C. 922G. If you want to look it up, it has a whole bullet list of things that would make it illegal for you to receive, possess, or possess, and one of them is if you're an illegal alien. Right. But
she said that's unconstitutional. Is what the judge says. It's unconstitutional to make it illegal for a illegal alien to own a firearm. But the question is, do your rights come from government or do they come from God or nature?
Well, they come from God.
So if they come from God, then why do you have to be a citizen to exercise your rights? Why are you not protected?
Okay,
I'm
sticking with the word illegal.
Well,
if you come across the border illegally, you should not have the rights of a person that comes across legally.
So but to me that means, hey, if you're an illegal alien, it should be a felony, and therefore you should be a prohibited person, which I guess I'm okay. I don't know. I'm going to say I guess I'm okay. We're just kind of we're just having a discussion here. I don't really have a strong opinion, but if you're saying, hey, we should make that a felony, not a misdemeanor. It's not a parking ticket. It's a felony. And then once they're convicted, then yeah, all right, I get what you're saying. But if somebody is here and they haven't been convicted and they aren't a prohibited person yet, but they are here illegally, they just haven't been convicted of it yet.
Okay, so let's make it even a little weirder. So how many thousands of folks come across the border illegally?
Too many thousand.
And they all run down to the gun store and they all buy a gun.
Okay.
And then they turn around and attack us.
Well, but that's illegal. It's illegal to attack us.
Well, I know it's illegal to attack us, but we could have stopped it in the beginning by not allowing them to have a gun.
But legal. But what about legal immigrants? Could do that. They could do that.
Well, you and I could do that as far as that goes. But I mean, there's got to be a deterrent. I mean,
why? Why does there have to be a deterrent?
Because what about all these people that have done everything legally?
They should be able to own guns too. But my point is,
Which I don't have a problem with that.
is gun ownership a natural right or not?
Oh, yes. I think gun ownership is definitely
So if it's a natural right, and our federal government, our government is the whole point of our government is to protect our rights.
But they don't.
But they should.
Well,
so then why should someone's citizenship status should not affect their natural right to keep and bear arms?
I'm listening over there, Blondie.
What do you think? Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying this is my opinion.
No,
it is certainly a discussion
You
item.
did say you wanted something for this section.
You know what I mean?
Let's see what the lady
right.
says.
Ooh. So, well, I mean, so there's so many different thoughts going through my head as you're speaking. So when you're speaking about it being a natural right, I mean, then you know, I know that the context of what you're getting at is the whole illegal alien angle of it. However, but my mind first goes to, well, why am I having to show proof of residency, and why am I having to show, you know, it kind of takes me back to, if that's our premise, it's a given right. We have this battle. The battle is it's so pronged.
But if an illegal comes across and comes to Discount Gun Mart and wants to buy a gun, would you sell him a gun?
Well,
he's not going to have the right documents.
They can't.
So that's not.
You know,
that's not a difficult issue now.
Yeah.
But should they be allowed to?
It's not easy, is it?
No, it's. I mean, you could go either way with this. Truly, I mean, you know. But I still have a problem with people coming across illegally. If you want the right to own a gun, drive a car, vote, then you need to come across legally.
So I'm not against making things felonies. I think that's good. In fact, one of the things that California has done is they've stopped making things felonies, but then give these violations the same consequences as felonies.
Right.
And I don't think that's not right. You're either a felon or you're not a felon.
Well, I agree.
You know what I mean? And if you're to be a prohibited person, you should be a felon, or some of the exceptions, like if you are dishonorably discharged from the military. But they basically have said, okay, this particular violation, we're not going to make it a felony, but we are going to make sure that you can't own guns. You're still going to be a prohibited person in California.
There's
That's
already
not right.
something like that for misdemeanors if they are violence or restraining order related. You know, there's
domestic violence.
Right. There's already an exception for that.
Right.
That's at the you know, at that level, the misdemeanor.
But I think it's interesting. I hear a lot of the same people who, and I'm not talking about you, Dave, but what made me think of this question is I hear a lot of the same people going, hey, this is a natural right. The proper role of government is to protect my rights. But then in this instance, because they have an aversion to illegal aliens, or maybe a worst case scenario or a worse interpretation is that they just have an aversion to aliens, to immigrants, they're turning on their convictions, you know, in order to, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's you. I'm not saying what you're doing, but I'm definitely noticing, well, wait a minute. Last week, not you, Dave, but last week this person was saying it's a natural right, blah, 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 screw the government. Now they're saying, oh, illegal alien? All right, well, screw the natural right.
So let me put a twist to it then.
Yeah.
So the illegal alien comes over and he wants to buy a gun. Then he has to show, like Alicia said, you got to do the paperwork. You have to be vetted. You know, you have to have all of the things that you have to buy a gun. Now, if you pass all of that, and you're in the U.S., and the U.S. considers you now a citizen without...
Or not,
but still...
You're a legal resident.
You're a legal resident. Then that person, if they pass all of the documentation...
So what if you're just a resident? You're an illegal resident. Like you have an apartment, you can show that you live here, you have a credit card and a bank statement.
Okay, what else do you need to get a gun?
So
you have a driver's license or a state
you need
ID?
a state-issued ID. There actually is, in the purchase process, if you have, I don't do these often. So to be honest, I could be a little off on the terminology. So forgive if I'm not in the right ballpark of terminology. But there is an avenue for someone is not a citizen of this country to purchase a firearm. I believe, I want to say it's an I-94. There's a document that they can purchase. You can have legal status and still purchase. That is already on the books. That does happen.
Yep.
It's just not something I deal with often, but it is there.
I think it was an interesting discussion discussion topic. And for the record, I don't have a thorough opinion on this. I just thought it was a good exercise, a good thought exercise that I like to stay consistent, philosophically. So I thought it was a good discussion. But here's what I don't want. I don't want a bunch of emails saying San Diego County gun owners supports illegal aliens. Man. Go change your diapers. That's not what I said. We were having a discussion.
It's
we're allowed
called
to do that.
Intelligent discussion.
So, anyway.
No, I agree with you.
It's just there's nothing to agree with. It was an interesting discussion.
Right, totally. All right, we're going to take a quick break. This happens to be Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Too many HVAC companies have been swallowed up by big corporations more interested in their bottom line than your budget. We
It's
at
hard
Jackson
to let that bias kind of roll into the specific topic.
It is.
Because I definitely have an opinion, but
Why didn't you want to give it?
because I'm trying. Well, just like that, what Mike was posing out there, the whole idea of
people wetting their pants.
Well, okay. So the first thing I thought of when you asked is it reminded me of, when they were passing the law here in California about the no smoking in public places, restaurants, whatever else like that. Right. I'm not a smoker, right? I don't like it. I appreciate not being around it. However, I remember.
It's a better world, isn't it?
Right. But I remember, gosh, I want to say it was Roger Hedgecock at the time that was, while he agreed that, just like I do, that I don't want to be around it. I don't like it either. However, he defended the freedom to choose. And he's like, I remember I was listening one day, he made a statement about, if we go down the slippery slope now of like Nanny stating, just kind of mothering everybody and telling them what they can do, what they can't do, what's that going to roll into? And as far as our freedoms otherwise.
Well, we're seeing what it rolls into.
I know. And so it kind of reminds me of that. Do I think illegals should have firearms? Absolutely not. But the whole idea of,
well, what about, so somebody, so you say an illegal, somebody snuck over the border 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They have a job.
Mm-hmm.
They pay taxes. They have a residence.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The only law they've ever broken in their whole life is they walked over that border.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I want that guy to have a gun?
Because he walked over the border with it illegal. I mean, there's two. You know how many people that have waited
I've
years?
broken laws.
Yeah, but I've had people wait years.
I like that one a lot.
I like that too. Oh,
are you guys looking at watches?
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's pretty.
If that's the case, then just open the borders. Be done with it.
I mean, I've broken laws.
No, you haven't.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, if you want gear at an affordable price, you need to check out Condor Outdoor. Condor's mission is to provide you with the highest quality tactical gear to help your tactical, any adventure, and with confidence. Whether you're a military professional, law enforcement officer, or simply an avid outdoorsman, Condor products are designed to be versatile, durable, and above all, reliable. So if you're looking for the best in tactical gear, look no further than Condor Outdoor. Use discount code GOR for 15% off the website, CondorOutdoor.com. Use code GOR for a 15% discount.
I had a little thought on our last topic.
Go for it.
Just dawned on me.
Yeah.
So one of the things that our background check is looking for patterns, and that is this person deemed to be of safe mindset to own a firearm, right?
Right.
If you have any violence, they're looking for that stuff. Looking for people that may be
or a past record.
Right. Some type of pattern history. We don't have access to that when they spent.
Well, that's a good point.
So that would be an argument that I.
Then they don't get a gun.
Like we talked about, I have an opinion on that. But
do we have to talk about that someplace else?
No. But I just, as far as if when speaking to someone who disagrees with you, that I can see as being a very valid that they can't counter.
I don't know. It's a good thing. I don't know. I think it's a good thought exercise.
I know.
And it comes down to how serious. I think it comes down to how serious is illegal immigration. I think if somebody says, yeah, that's really serious, we should make it a felony.
That's very
I get
But
it.
stop
But
and
if
think
it's
what you're saying.
all right.
They don't want us to have guns.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they allow an illegal to have a gun?
Where does
I don't
anything
know,
make sense,
but
Dave?
That's I think the thought exercise is the most important part.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, they're trying to take all the
Mm-hmm.
guns away from us.
No, I hear you, but what I think it's more important. It's more important to question your own, political. Like, hey, do I really believe it's a natural right? If it's a natural right, should it only apply to people that have gone through the government process to become a citizen? Because that's the government.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you know what I mean? That person has a natural right whether or not they're a citizen. Anyway, all right.
If they join San Diego County gun owners for $10 a month, we'll be all for them having an AR.
Exactly. Okay. Everybody's favorite segment. What a great intro. Everyone's favorite segment. Stump My Nephew, Sam the Gunman, my nephew. Found out a while ago that he is extremely good at gun trivia. He does not get the questions in advance. The first time he hears them is on the air. So if you send in a question and we ask it on the air, we'll give you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, then you get something special. I think we're going to give you 2 tickets to Gun Prom, which is not even announced yet, but it's coming up on October 12th. You'll get 2 free tickets to Gun Prom. And it's Gun Prom version 2.0. New and improved. Sam, you there?
Yeah, how's everyone there?
Good, man. How are you?
Can't complain.
All right, good. I didn't want to hear it anyway. Okay, here we go. Steve from Houston. Is that a real? That's not a real place. Steve from Houston asks, what firearm was famously smuggled aboard an Apollo mission? I'll bet what do you get? Don't answer it yet. What do you guys think he's going to get this?
I think he will.
Think he's going to get it, Dave?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I can almost guarantee he's going to get this. All right, go ahead. What firearm was famously smuggled aboard an Apollo mission? I think the only thing he knows more about than guns is space.
Oh, really?
Go ahead, man. What do you got?
Steve from Houston, thanks for writing in. Before I answer, let me ask, is this a trick question?
No.
No, not the way you could tell.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
This is tough.
Oh, no.
I know about firearms carried on Soviet space missions, but as for an American one, I would have to guess this is going to be, oh man.
Go ahead.
What?
Is it a Chief Special?
A Chief Special?
Yes.
Son of a...
Is it a Chief Special?
Yes, it is.
Oh, my God, it is.
Jeez,
You nailed
it.
The Smith & Wesson J-Frame Model 36, also known as the Chief's Special, was famously carried into space by astronaut Edgar.
Who carried it on space? Do you know?
No. Well, Mike was about to tell us. Let's hear it.
Edgar Mitchell during the Apollo 14 mission in 1971. Mitchell, concerned about the potential for lunar lander failure and a subsequent emergency situation upon returning to Earth, smuggled the compact revolver aboard. His intent was to provide a means of survival should they land off course and need to defend themselves or signal for help.
Against who?
The aliens that live on the moon.
I mean,
the moon aliens.
Talking about landing
in
landing
Pittsburgh?
off course on Earth.
Detroit.
Detroit?
Well, yeah, Detroit.
Okay.
What watch was he
in those
wearing?
days, it wasn't so bad. But here's my thought process.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking, okay, it has to be like, why do you carry a gun on a space mission? Either it's an accident, which I doubt, or like, you just left it in my luggage. Nah. So it's got to be an air crew survival, or I guess space crew survival weapon. And in those days, it would more likely than not be a J-frame revolver, such as a Chief's Special. That's if you were a military fighter pilot, then your ejection seat kit would have had a revolver in it.
That's hilarious.
What about TSA?
TSA.
How could he get on the plane?
This was before 9/11. You were allowed to carry guns in space back then.
Oh, okay.
What watch was he wearing, Edgar Mitchell?
Oh, I don't know. What do astronauts wear? Breitlings or Seikos or something?
No, they actually all. I think they all wore them. I
Nah.
know the first guys, but I'm pretty sure they all wore an Omega Speedmaster.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there
Swear to
you
God.
go.
It's called the Moon Watch.
Oh,
It is. They call it the Moon Watch.
look it up, Alicia.
I literally just did, and yes, it says here Neil Armstrong.
Well.
Or the
Smug
Omega
Dave
Speedmaster.
Stahl and your Rolls Royce attitude over there.
Yeah, they're bagging on me.
All right, I got
It
one.
started with Apollo 11 in 1969, the Omega Speedmaster.
All right, this one's for Michael. What was the first watch worn in space?
The first watch worn in space, was it a Bulova?
It was a Strela.
I don't know that. I didn't know
Okay, June 12th, 1965. Alexei Leonov, who is Russian.
Oh, that's why I never would have guessed that. So Bulova also has a moon watch. Somebody snuck a Bulova up there that was a kind of a similar, but anyway. All right.
Your Omega's $8,000, by the way.
At least, yeah.
Well, here's a question for you about firearms in space.
Oh.
Are you familiar with the what's known in popular culture as the cosmonaut gun?
Alicia is.
Yes. Her little fingers are going
The
100 miles an hour.
The cosmonaut gun. I am not.
Yeah, designated TP-82 with a similar use case in mind. Given that the Soviet and now Russian space programs land on land, not in the ocean, there's a possibility for landing outside the designated area due to equipment failure, and that puts them in extremely remote areas of the Siberian wilderness. And that did happen once. It took rescuers a few days to get to the stranded cosmonauts. And so they began carrying the TP-82, which is a really nifty contraption. It's a combination gun, break action. You get 2 barrels of 12 gauge. You get 1 barrel of 5.45 by 39, if you can believe it. And you get a detachable shoulder stock that doubles as a hatchet.
That's cool. See that? Did I tell you? He knows a lot about
SBR and SBS restrictions in the NFA. That would be, I can guarantee you, a smash hit in the United States, albeit maybe in 223 instead of 5.45 by 39.
There you go. Space, the final frontier.
So you're into space, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay.
He used to.
I'm not in space. I'm in Virginia, but
same thing.
It's been to the museum, the Air and Space Museum.
Ask him the question.
Which one?
About illegals.
No, we don't have enough time. We got it's too thorough. All right, actually did an awesome job. We'll ask him. Maybe I'll get him to write a blog on it. Should illegal aliens, should non-citizens, should illegal aliens
have firearms?
Do they have the right to keep and bear arms? Are they protected by the Second Amendment?
That's the topic du jour in the gun world, isn't it? Right now,
I think it's an important discussion. Whether
we
or not
we had a whole segment on it, and with no agreement.
Well, we weren't looking to agree. We were just looking to discuss.
Yeah, just to discuss. And it's an interesting topic.
We're sitting here with our snifters and our smoking jackets, having a
and by the way, I do like your
lady.
yellow smoking jacket. It's very nice.
My yellow smoking jacket.
That's very nice.
All right, well, cool. Thank you, Sam. Awesome job.
Have
you
a
did a
great week.
wonderful job. Yeah, that was really cool. I liked that question a lot.
Have a great week, buddy.
You too. Good night.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.